Greetings, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another landscape photography video. So right now I'm in between. I've got Shepherd's Crag that way and something called Brown Dodd that way. I'm just having a mooch about. I was going to say I was recceing locations for workshops, but I think unless my participants have the mobile agility of a mountain goat, I don't think it's going to work. But anyway, I'm here. I'm going to have an explore, even if only for my own enjoyment and my own benefit. But on the way up here, as I do, I'm looking around at what's going on, picking out compositions, picking out ideas. Especially ideas for the autumn. This place is full of birch trees that are out in full spring leaf. You can probably see a few behind me. And in the autumn, as long as we don't get gales blowing through here, it's going to look absolutely astounding. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. But on the way up here, I saw a particular view that caught my eye, and I found myself in a situation where I thought, oh, hang on a second. Somebody's asked me about this, so I'm going to try and cover it. And the notion that I'm going to try and talk about very quickly, he says as the scene changes in front of him, not quite right, is the difference between using a self-timer on the camera and a cable release. So let's explore those two things. Let's start with a self-timer, or a 2-second delay, or a 10-second delay, or it's called many things, but effectively it's a function you can select in the camera whereby you have a delay between pushing the shutter button and the shutter actually opening and closing. On my Olympus cameras, so this one here, which is my OMD EM1, it's just a 2-second delay. On some cameras it's referred to as a self-timer. And on this camera, you can select it, I think it's 2 seconds and 10 seconds. And the reason why you would use it is to try and make sure that the camera is as still as it can possibly be before the shutter opens. The theory being that if the camera is relatively still and you've focused properly and you've selected an appropriate aperture, you're more likely to get a sharp and usable image. Now, the lens that I use is a 12 to 100 millimeter lens, and you could argue that at a wide angle at 12 millimeters, any movement is really going to be so hard to see. You probably don't even need to think about it. But if I've zoomed right into 100 millimeters, it's going to be a bit like using a pair of high-powered binoculars. Any movement of the camera is going to be amplified by the fact that you've zoomed in. And what I don't want to have to do is think about, well, am I at 12 millimeters or am I at 100 millimeters? I just set the delay on, I frame up, I do all my compositional choices, I then press the shutter, hands off, 2 seconds later, the shutter fires. And that's whether I'm at 12 millimeters or 100, it's always set, it's always when it's on the tripod, and that's very deliberate because I want to get as sharp an image as I can possibly be. If I just step away from the camera ever so slightly so I can include it in the shot, there it is, you'll notice right now it's actually up on its center column, and that's because it's actually on a slope, so the tripod legs themselves are not of an equal length, that the tripod is in effect leaning back. So I've used the center column to raise the camera up to my eye level, so I'm not having to bend down and look through the viewfinder. Now, the problem with that is that a center column is just, it's one piece of carbon fiber, and any kind of breeze or movement and the thing is going to wobble. Again, I don't want to have to think about the fact that, oh, I've got the center column up, I better have a self-timer on. That's why the self-timer is on all the time at 2 seconds, regardless of the situation that I'm in when I'm using a tripod. Now, a cable release is, as its name implies, a device that's plugged into the camera. So let's just move around the camera. So mine is plugged in, where is it? Just here. And it has a button on it, obviously. And that mimics the shutter button here on top of the camera. I could actually, whilst I've got this plugged in, I could actually still use that if I chose. And what that does is that leaves my hands completely free of the camera. So I'm not touching the camera. I'm not introducing any movement at all. Now you could argue, well, why don't I use this instead of a self-timer? And for the simple reason, it's another bit of kit that I've got to get out of my bag, plug in, blah, blah, blah. And if, you know, you see a sudden flash of interest or something suddenly changes in front of you and you think, oh, there's a picture there, you know, getting the camera out and just setting it up, I don't want to have to think about, oh, I need to find this and plug this in as well. And it's a little bit too fragile, I think, to leave it plugged into the camera permanently when it's in the bag. Now, a situation where I would use this is where I find myself today. So as you can see right now, I'm just swapping hands because my arm's tired. As you can see right now, put that there, the sun is out. You can probably see behind me. Oh no, you can't because the camera's moved. Let me just tilt the view up ever so slightly. There you go, you can see the sky behind me. I've got a day with broken cloud moving around, creating shafts of sunlight moving over the landscape. At the moment, I've got a big patch of blue sky above me, so that's not really helping me. But what I'm hoping is some of this grey cloud that's behind me is going to move in, and what that's going to do is that's going to help to create, rather than having the whole area bathed in sunlight, there's going to be a spot of sunlight moving over the landscape. What that's going to introduce is an area of the scene in front of me that's lit, with the rest of it not lit. In fact, it's just starting to happen right now, so just bear with me a moment. No, it's not going to do it. And this is where, whoops, and this is where I'm using a cable release, because I'm just standing here, looking at the scene in front of me, looking at the clouds behind, looking at the gaps, and trying to think about when is going to be that optimum moment. And when the optimum moment happens in front of me, all I need to do is push that button and the shutter will fire. What I don't want to have to do is think ahead 2 seconds and think, right, in 2 seconds time, the light's going to be perfect over there. So I'll hit the shutter button, because a lot can happen in 2 seconds. And that's why one of these in this situation is absolutely bang on and on the money. And I keep looking in that direction because I'm aware that the sun is coming and going. I'm just going to spin the camera around. It's going to be quite difficult. I don't really want to use the stills camera to talk you through this because I actually, I don't want to miss that optimum moment. But let me spin the camera around and I'll try and talk you through what it is that I've seen and why I would want to use one of these to capture the image that I'm interested in capturing. If you are enjoying this video and would like to support my channel, then please click on the thumbs up icon indicated here. To be notified when I upload new content, which will be every 2 weeks, then please consider subscribing. It's free and you can unsubscribe at any time. As well as subscribing, click on the bell icon and select all in order to get these notifications. All updates for new videos appear here on the top right hand side of your YouTube homepage. Okay, so there's my scene. I'm actually zoomed in on my lens around about 50 millimeters. Like I say, I don't want to do this using the stills camera because if I get that optimum moment, I just want to be able to grab the cable release and hit it. Just one other thing to mention, clearly when I'm using the cable release, I don't have the self timer running. I just have I just have the shutter fire. That's an important point to make, isn't it? So my scene, what's interesting me is, where's my finger? There's a row of trees here that are not in full green. You can almost say that they're autumnal in terms of colour. And then you have the fell beyond, and there's a particular peak sort of here that is just because of the angle of the sun, it's just catching the light, and you can see that the shape of the rocks and the texture and all the rest of it. And what I'm looking for is those trees and that fell in the distance, round about like that, to be highlighted in light. And as you can see, as quickly as it appeared, it's faded. So just a few seconds ago, you had the whole of this ridge picked out in light, and now you've just got the very bottom picked out in light and the fell beyond. What I'm trying to wait for is all of this being picked out in light and the fell beyond. That's what I sort of spotted as I walked up here, and that's what made me think, ooh, I know what I'll do. I'll record a video that describes why and how I would use a cable release, because that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm trying to create. And you know, I'm going to have to be patient, but there are plenty of blobs up in the sky. If I just move the camera around slightly, yeah, you can see there are patches of cloud, patches of blue. There's a nice big one there. But if I bring the camera all the way around, so now we're sort of looking over Derwent Water, you can just see that in the bottom. You've got all this lovely texture and shape when it's all moving towards me. In fact, there's a spot of blue just there. Maybe, hopefully, the sun will shine through it. You can certainly see it here on the flanks of Skiddaw and so forth. I'm waiting for that spot to appear over on my scene, so I can then use my cable release to grab that image. And I keep looking behind me as I'm looking here as well. Before I started recording this video, I fired off a couple of frames, and you probably noticed during the first few minutes I was capturing some frames. Technically, you can see my camera there. I've got a grey grad just to hold the sky. I was focused about a third into my scene, and rain has started to fall. I was pretty sure I could see rain coming. I'm focused about a third into my scene at f8, and then just let the scene take care of itself. But rain is starting to fall, so I'm going to have to call this one right here because my Osmo is not weatherproof. I'm going to carry on up to Brown Dodd in the rain. Hope it's been useful and helpful, given you some ideas, and yeah, just hope you take something from it. Until the next video, please stay safe, please stay well, get out there with your camera, get exploring, and try some of these things out. If they work for you, great. If they don't, they don't. Just do what you normally do. Thanks once again. Be good, stay safe. Till the next one, ciao. See you now. Yeah. I'm going to get wet. Yuck. And I've still got bad hair.